This is the hatch for the Banshee Bipe, which I've already made, but I haven't shown you. So what we'll do is we'll get on and build the hatch, which is exactly the same for the Banshee Air Race as well. Let me get the parts. Before I do, obviously this is curved and therefore it's scored on the inside. I have the score and beveling guide here, and it is actually missing the score guide for the part that covers the top of the hatch. Now, on the score guide you've got, you will have it represented. I believe it's going to be here, but this is a pre-production scoring and beveling guide that I've got here. So that's going to be. I don't think it's not on the other side, is it? No. So yes, it's going to be just there. So I'm going to prepare my part by just putting some marks on where I need to score it. But obviously you'll be able to use the stuff, the actual diagram that's given to you, so you can get it nice and accurate. Right, let me go and get the parts, and we shall start the process of putting the air race hatch together. So Z15 is the part that we need to kick everything off. There are other bits and pieces that are required, but we'll get this one sorted first. Go. And so we score on the other side here. So I'm going to mark this up so that I know what I'm doing, and then we'll get to score it. So I don't know if you can see that, and it's not really of any consequence. Obviously, look, it's a little bit cold. Got the jumper on. You can see I've just put some dents in there. I didn't have a pencil to hand, so I just sort of dented it with the back of the knife. So scoring exactly the same as all the other parts on the unprinted side, and we take our rule, our straight edge, and position it. As I said before, this is hopefully on the score guide rather than on the cutting mat. So now I've got all the scores in there, what I'm going to do is just make sure that each of those scores is folded along its line, so that we get a nice even curve to the top of the hatch. Go. Right, so let's grab all the other parts that we need. The next part that we're going to install is P20, this bit here. This is just some reinforcements and plastic reinforcement for the underside of the part that we've just scored. Now this actually has some laser scores in it itself, and we can just run our knife down those scores just to make sure that they're going to fold when we need them to. So there we go. I'm just folding those edges, you can see there. They don't need to be overly folded, but I'm just making sure that the material has bent so that when we do need it to go into place, it'll be more compliant. So this actually sits on the underside of the part like so, and you can see that it's a fit that goes from back to front of the part. It covers the entire area. So the other thing we can do while we're here is actually put some shape in this plastic part as well, just by going down and bending it along its length. There we go. Now I've been pretty quick with this. You can take your time just sort of making sure that the curve is nice and even, but essentially what we need to do now is just stick one to the other. So I'm actually going to apply the glue to the plastic part. The reason is obviously it's got holes in. If I were to just smear all that with glue, then we'd have lots of open holes with tacky glue drying and nothing to stick it to. So it's sort of saving weight, saving mess, and just makes things nice, cleaner to handle. So just run some down that folded edge as well. And obviously front and back is very important to get stuck down. Then we can run the glue between the holes. Go. So we just pop this on here now. Hopefully that'll line up. So I'm not going to hold it in position. I'm just going to make sure that it's in position so that the edges meet and it's evenly placed. The plastic itself is slightly narrower than the foam, so just make sure it's sitting centrally, and then we can I'll just let that the glue dry off, and anything that hasn't stuck down we can just bring together once the glue has dried. So the internal structure of the hatch comprises of some of the 2mm foam parts, and the ones that we're going to cut out now are Z 25 and 26, 24 and 27. There we go. So these 4 parts all go together to form what is essentially what is initially quite a flimsy structure, but that when it all comes together, it all becomes a little more rigid. So there are a few things to note here on the 2 side parts here, 25 and 26. You've got a few scores in here. You've got one that runs there and there, and that allows this part to fold through around about a little over 90 degrees. You've got a score here, which we'll be using later and we'll be cutting through. And then you've got this little box here that's scored as well. And if you like, you can do this at any time. You can do it once the structure's created, but you can, because it's quite convenient at this time, just knock that out. It's actually a little space that goes over the motor mount. That's why it's there. So it's important that it's taken out. So we'll do exactly the same on the other side. So, and then make sure that that score bends. Right, I think actually we may have some plastic parts we need to pop on those bits there. So, namely P14, and I think it is P18. So let's get those out. There's also another part to it as well, which is P15, which is a sort of a tongue, if you like, and it helps hold the hatch in place. So let's pop that out too. So P14, P15, and also P18. No, it's not P18, sorry, it's P19. So P18 is actually used right at the forefront of the nose of the aircraft. So we'll leave that for later. Right. Over here, let's just make sure this is trimmed a little better than it was getting it off the sprue. Just give it a quick sand. Go. I am using the rougher side for the 2mm, and what I try to do is hold the material as close to the place that I'm sanding as possible, and then it seems to bite a little bit better than if you sort of just don't get too close. So anyway, let us pop our plastic part. I've just noticed there's a little line of material that's been lasered out that's still sitting in the hole. Just remove that. There we go. So this actually goes on to our 2mm part, like so, and the slots in both parts, you can see one there, they line up. So let's just apply the glue to that. Pop that in place. I'm going to put it on the face that was the top of the laser parts, because that's the widest part of the cut, and this is actually going to be facing, the plastic part's going to be facing backwards from the hatch towards the cockpit. So we've got that all lined up. It literally just sort of covers the part in its entirety, that one end. Put that to one side to dry, and then this works in exactly the same way. So that just sits over there and obviously reinforces the part as well, because this 2mm part is pretty flimsy. So that stiffens it all up. So just put the glue onto. You can do it on either side, on the plastic or on the foam. together, make sure it's sitting correctly on the part. Okay, let that dry. And this plastic part here has got a score down the middle. We literally just fold it over and stick it together. It creates a little tongue. Just add the glue to the one side. Fold it over like so. Make sure the glue transfers, and I'm just going to let it fold back open and let the glue dry. Whilst those parts are drying, you may remember that I mentioned in the intro that we've made a bit of a boo-boo with the parts here, and we were missing a part. But you should have received in your pack a spare little part, V23, in one of the parts bags, and we can actually use these parts now. We need to put them all together into a stack that forms the nose part of the hatch. So we'll just remove them. And remove 23 as well. Go. Okay, let's just tidy those up. I wasn't too careful with the cutting there. It's okay. So the way these stack up is 23 sits at the back there, then you have 22 and then 21, like so. So we'll pop all of those together. Go, and then we can literally just slide it around and line them up. We're looking for that central tunnel to be even there, and obviously the bottom of all of these half moon shapes to be sitting flat. So, and they have a slight taper that way as well towards the front of the nose. So make sure that's all positioned nicely. And then you pop those to one side to dry off. Now, the parts here should be about ready. We'll assemble this tongue first by just folding it together like so. And then that, from the foam side, pushes through and comes out on the plastic side like so. So we're going to pop that in now. We'll glue it. Okay. Make sure that any glue that comes through on the other side just gets taken off. That's fine. And that can rest there for now. And these particular side parts here We fold them over like so, and they go through slightly more than 90 degrees. And then the part with the scored stripe on it sits at the bottom like so. Bring this a little bit closer. Sits there. And the other part, you see they've got little tabs on them. The other tab goes into the slot there. So it's sitting like so. So what you can do, get some glue, pop them in all the areas that the part comes into contact with. Like so. I'll do the other side as well, seeing as we're here. There we are. And now we can fit these into place. There and there, remembering to keep the scored slot on the bottom, like so. So I don't think that's going to stay there for now, so I'll just take that out. It's got the glue on it, so that's all got glue on it too. And the same happens the other end with these little slots here. So we take our part here, you can see in dry fit so that it all sits into the slots that are provided. So you can see that that's just over 90 degrees, sits in there like so. So if we get a little bit of glue into both of the slots on either side, and a little bit on where the parts come into contact as well. And then if we just share that glue, go. So now, after doing that, we should be able to bring our rear half of the hatch together, like so. There we go, sticks straight away. So now those parts are attached to the rear of the hatch. We will pop the front on. There we go. So it's already starting to firm up, but it's still a little bit flimsy. And at this stage, if you think you need a little more glue around these areas, you can pop it on now whilst it's all nice and open. Okay. Right, now our little nose piece here, we do have that plastic part that I mentioned earlier and got confused with, P18. Let's just pop that off the sheet. And that sits right at the front on that last piece that we installed, like so. There we go. Right, we'll pop that to one side once again, let it dry off. And we shall now test fit the skin of the hatch. So I'm just pressing down what previously hadn't stuck down. We can also start putting in a more substantial curve. Okay, so obviously this sits on here, and we need to get it as central as possible, and hopefully, everything being equal, the length of that equals the length of this. So I think the best thing we can do at the moment is, if we really get our edge sorted here, and one of the useful tools for that is our little ball tool. Use it internally here just to bring everything together. And what I'm looking to do is get the angle of the material pointing as far down as possible, because obviously where it actually meets the fuselage, that fuselage is going straight up, so it's a pure vertical. So if we can make this as close to vertical at the sides as possible, then it will hopefully marry up quite well. It's one of the key elements when building any of these kits is the hatch, and getting it all to fit nicely. So being able to shape it beforehand is always good. It's a much more difficult process to do it post build. Go. Right, so the moment of truth. Let's get some glue on the surfaces that are going to be coming together, and then stick everything down. That's come apart slightly there, so let's just bring that together. I'm being quite generous with the glue here. Oh, so much so it's all over the bench now. There we go. It heard me. Okay. Now while the glue is wet, I'm just going to make sure I've got the correct position. And what I'm looking for is obviously that it's equal on both sides. There's plenty of material. When I say plenty, I mean an nth of a millimeter, but it feels like that there's, I'm not trying to stretch anything over its limits. Okay, so I think that's probably got a good position now on the material. I'm going to wait until the glue dries to just bring everything together finally. What I will do is I'm going to run some glue down the skin edges on the inside of the material, so that when it does come together with the edge of the foam, it bonds strongly and quickly. There we go. So one final check. Okay, we'll just pop that to one side. Well, let's finish this off. Let's just bring the sides down to the foam. So fantastic. In fact, probably just use the ball tool once again, just to add a little pressure. You can actually use the back of your nail as well if you want, thumb or any other. So once that's on, in fact, we can actually, and it's probably useful to just make sure that everything lines up. So moment of truth. So that's pretty good. Sitting a little bit wide on the airframe. So it's not wide there, it's not wide there. So we've got a bit of a bulge going on. So we can deal with that just by adding more pressure. A little more boisterous than I have been. And the other thing that we need to do is, obviously, we're going to be putting some magnets into the little recesses at the bottom of the little nose assembly that we put together. So that sits there. So this will all come together onto the fuselage like so. And those magnets will attach themselves to the magnets that are already installed in the chin. So we need to grab those magnets and we need to orientate them so that they will attract rather than repel on the magnets that are in the chin already. So let me just go and grab those. I think I've got them here. There we go. So if I just pop magnet there, a magnet there, we've now got orientation. We've just got to get those magnets into there. But before we do, I'll pop that to one side over there, we will stick this to the nose like so. It should line up nicely with the existing structure we've just built. And whilst I'm here, I'm just going to put some glue into the place where the magnet's going to go as well, like so. That can start its drying process. So let's just pop that onto the front of our hatch. There we go, and I'll pop that to one side, let it dry off completely, and then we will pop our magnets in. So the hatch is coming together nicely now. The glue is dried. I've actually been a new technique, I suppose. I've been using the back of the knife and keeping it quite upright, and then just running it down the sides there, just to make sure that the everything is nice and neat, following the right line to sit neatly on the fuselage. I'm using quite a bit of pressure as well, just some inward pressure, just to make sure that that's all sitting nicely. So anyway, we've got our little magnet trick to do. So we have our magnets already plopped on there, and our hatch is going to go on like so. So this magnet is going to go into this hole here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to scoop it using the knife. I'm going to use the blade, the sharp bit of the blade, just get between the sticker and the magnet, and then I should have the magnet on the end of the knife there, and that is the orientation that it needs to go into the hole there. So if I pop it in there, just it's now captured. I've got some glue in there, so it's captured in place. I can move to the next one, do exactly the same. slide the knife under. Obviously be careful not to cut the sticker itself. And then pop in there, and we have it captured. So super. I'm not going to now test that out because the glue's got to dry, and we've got to put some stickers over the front of the hatch. So we can think about doing that now. Now, obviously, you've got this stack of white foam here, and we're going to cover this over with those stickers. But if you want to, you can use your carving skills to smooth it out a little bit. Careful not to cut the printed foam. But yeah, just the other thing you can do is you cut a strip of paper about that width and just stick that over, and that evens things out a bit. And it's not a difficult thing to do. I'm just doing the carving thing. Just trying to be careful not to cut into the printed foam, as I said before. And you've got to do this with a sharp knife too. And the other thing, of course, you can do is sand. Although, as we've experienced before, it's not the best material to sand because it's quite rubbery. It tends to get out of the way rather than turn into a dust. But it does work. It just takes time. Go. Also just moving things up on the sides, so there. You can as with anything, you can fiddle around with it for ages, just trying to improve things. Anyhow, so the glue there. Gone. Okay. So, as for stickers, we have S12 and S13, and I'm just actually going to prepare, because these fold over onto and over the magnets, and I'm just going to add a little extra stick for them by adding some more glue to that underside. And let's go with S12 first. So this is the bit that goes at the front. Obviously, you notice the same curves on it as is on the front part of the hatch. Just remove that bit of swarf to landed on it. So I just want to line that up. Obviously, you've got these overhangs as well, which go over the magnets. Line that up as neatly, accurately as possible into that front edge. Looks pretty good. I can fold that over like so. over the magnets. And on the other side too. There we go. And then we've just got a matter of the S13 strip, which has a little bit of graphic on it too. We can line up. So that's got that little sort of carbon piece on there. It's trying to do it at a distance. So, I think I've got it. Go. And that folds like so over the other sticker. I'm just going to use my tools to make sure that's well stuck down. There we go. And there we have one almost completed hatch. The only thing we can do now, or the last thing that we need to do, is just open up those scored slots, pop the knife through, like so. And then on our plastic sheet, we should have a part P21. There we go. And that has got a couple of scores on that we bend over, like so. And that should then pop in to the slots provided, like so. And that actually acts as a little holder as we pop the battery into this space here within the hatch. So what we can do now is just glue that into place. Go. So there we have it. One Banshee hatch. All done. Now hopefully that can just pop on.